Most people think mirroring builds connection, and sometimes it does. That's what most communication experts teach. They mirror their posture, match their tone, copy their energy, body language, reflections. The idea sounds logical. People trust people who feel familiar. But here's the problem nobody talks about. Dominant personalities often do not interpret mirroring as confidence. They interpret it as submission, especially when the mirroring becomes obvious. And once that happens, you stop looking like an equal. You start looking like someone trying to gain approval. That changes the entire power dynamic of the conversation. A lot of people accidentally destroy their authority this way without realizing it. Watch what happens in high-pressure environments. A powerful executive leans back in his chair. Seconds later, the other person leans back too. The executive crosses his arms. The other person immediately mirrors it. Or the executive slows their voice. Now the other person slows theirs. What was supposed to look socially intelligent starts looking psychologically dependent. Because dominant personalities are constantly reading one thing: who is setting the frame and who is adapting to it. That matters more than most people realize, because adaptation signals hierarchy. The person constantly adjusting themselves to another person's behavior usually appears lower status. Not always, but often, especially in competitive environments like negotiations, leadership conversations, even in interviews or boardrooms. Any type of conflict. It can even transfer over to dating, personal environments. High-level personalities notice this immediately, even subconsciously. And once they sense you are calibrating yourself around them, they stop seeing you as stable. Now, to be clear, this does not mean you should not, or you should become cold, rigid, or socially disconnected. That's the mistake people make when they hear this. Communication is not about acting robotic. The issue is not awareness. The issue is dependency. There's a big difference. Confident people observe the room. Insecure people absorb the room. That difference changes everything. Strong communicators do not constantly synchronize themselves to other people's energy. They maintain their own center. That's why they feel difficult to control and difficult to intimidate. You can feel this instantly around certain people. They're calm without copying anyone, composed without rehearsing reactions, even grounded without needing social permission. And ironically, those people usually create more respect and rapport than aggressive imitators ever do, because real authority feels self-contained, not adaptive. Here's where mirroring becomes especially dangerous. When someone dominant is testing you, and powerful personalities test people constantly, sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously. They interrupt you, shift their posture suddenly, change vocal intensity or use silence, create pressure. Not always maliciously. Sometimes it is simply how they assess strength. And the moment you begin automatically mirroring all of it, you reveal something important. Your emotional state is being controlled externally. That is never a strong signal. Watch confident people carefully. They rarely rush to match energy. If someone becomes aggressive, they often become calmer. If someone becomes louder, they often become quieter. If someone leans forward aggressively, they often remain relaxed. Why is that? Because stability creates authority. Reactive behavior creates vulnerability. The strongest communicators are not the best imitators. They are the hardest people to emotionally move. And this is where most communication hacks fail people, because many techniques are built for short-term likability, not long-term respect. Those are different outcomes. A person may like you because you adopt or adapt yourself to them or their behavior, but they respect you when they feel you are psychologically grounded, especially dominant personalities. Powerful people trust stability, not performance. And excessive mirroring often feels performative, even when the other person cannot explain why. They just feel it. Something starts feeling overly eager, or overly agreeable, or too synchronized, and trust quietly drops. Now, there is a smarter version of mirroring that high-level communicators use, but it is subtle. It's strategic and emotionally controlled. They do not mirror behavior. They mirror pace. They mirror conversational rhythm, emotional temperature. Generally, they calibrate themselves socially without becoming copies of the other person. That distinction matters enormously because the goal is not imitation. The goal is friction reduction without surrendering identity. Let me give you an example. If someone is speaking calmly and slowly, and you enter the conversation with explosive, chaotic energy, that creates unnecessary friction. A strong communicator knows how to regulate that. But they do not suddenly start copying gestures or posture, or facial expressions, or vocal patterns like a psychological echo. They immediately lower perceived authority, especially with dominant people, because now it feels like you're trying to win favor instead of participating as an equal. One of the biggest signs of authority is this: your behavior remains internally driven, even under social pressure. And that is rare. Most people unconsciously shapeshift around stronger personalities. They laugh harder, speak softer, move differently. They change opinions faster, mirror posture constantly, and dominant people notice it immediately because they spend their lives watching people react to them. If you want more respect in conversations, stop forcing so much on being liked, or stop focusing on it. Don't force yourself to be liked. Focus on becoming psychologically steady. That changes your body language automatically. You stop chasing synchronization, you stop managing reactions constantly, and you stop performing comfort. And people begin experiencing you differently. More grounded and credible, more difficult to manipulate, and more authoritative. Because the truth is, the most respected person in the room is usually not the person adapting to everyone else. It is a person who can remain fully themselves without needing control, approval, or permission from the room. And dominant personalities respect that immediately, even if they never say it out loud. Confidence is not your ability to match someone else's energy. It's your ability to remain centered while everyone else changes theirs.